You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 87. Well, happy new year, Small and Supercharged podcast listeners. We're kicking off 2020, a new year and a new decade, no less, which Sophie's just pointed out, with Sophie Callahan. So, hello, Sophie. Happy New Year indeed. So I've got Sophie on for various different reasons because A, it's Sophie, and she's got a really exciting challenge we're going to talk about, but also Sophie is a serious goal setter and also a really good person to talk to about, you know, when things don't go particularly well, how you can sort of turn things around, consistency, all the things that are so important in your business, but also, you know, on your social media too. So hello, Sophie.
Hello.
I'd ask if you had a nice Christmas, but I'll be honest, we're recording this before Christmas.
It feels a bit weird saying Happy New Year, doesn't it? We haven't even done Christmas yet.
Really weird. But, you know, no one would have known that if we hadn't mentioned that or if I hadn't brought up Christmas.
Well, only if they thought we were real losers and we've recorded this in between Christmas and New Year.
That would be rough, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Let's crack on.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about it before and I said, oh, you know, it's a new year and we can talk about how exciting it is to kind of set your intentions and get on track with your social and with your business. And you also pointed out it's a whole new decade, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So big plans for this decade.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you go about goal setting, how you've gone about it in the past and sort of how it's worked for you or hasn't worked?
Yeah, so I think we get quite fixated on resolutions for the new year, and I feel like you're setting yourself up to fail with resolutions because everybody thinks that they're going to be a brand new person and they're going to go to the gym every day and they're going to eat kale for breakfast, and it's just not going to happen. You probably get to sort of the second week and think, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I don't set resolutions, but I do set goals because I feel like goals are a direction for you to head in. They're an achievement that, you know, when you achieve your goal, you know, you've got to where you wanted to go. So I've always been quite a big fan of goal setting, just in everyday life, not just at the new year, but obviously the new year does provide a great goal setting opportunity. And I think the best way to do it is kind of just look at where you want to head with, whether it's your business or in your personal life. What exactly do you want to achieve and how do you want to achieve it? Because there's no point in saying, well, I want to achieve this, but I've got no idea how I'm going to get there. So I think part of your goals has to be about how you're going to get to where you want to be by either the end of the year or whether you've got another kind of time limit on it. So for me, looking at what I want my business to look like next year, or this year now, 2020, helps me then kind of break it all down into manageable steps, and that's how I come up with the goals that I'm going to work towards for the new year.
No, I like that because I know in Mastermind it will be last month when we record this. At the moment we've got a goal setting masterclass, and one of the things I talk about in there is the SMART goal system.
Yeah.
Which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And I have to say that the achievable, and the realistic to me always just annoy me a bit because I think with a goal, you can be a bit, you know, you can, if it's possible for one person, it's possible for more than that person. And I think if you think about your current situation, is it achievable now in this current situation? I feel that you can really limit yourself.
Yeah.
But I think that you can actually set quite big old goals, but it doesn't mean you have to achieve them like in the month or even in a year, but you can start stepping towards those.
And if you've got a goal, yeah, definitely. If you've got a goal that you don't, I think there's pros and cons to setting a goal that you don't feel is attainable. First, the con is that if you don't feel it's attainable, you may not work towards it as you perhaps would if you felt that you could easily achieve it. So it kind of might sit there and stagnate a little bit, or it might make you feel less than because you feel like, oh God, I've got that on my goals list or on my vision board or whatever, however you do things, and I'm not getting there and I'm nowhere near it, and that can be a negative. But then, like you say, if you scale it back and you make it like have a what do you call, what's the first thing for smart?
Specific.
And then what? Manageable?
Measurable.
Yeah. So have measurable stepping stones towards that goal. So it might be that you have, you know, a separate list of short-term goals that will then lead on to that longer term goal, so that you might not believe in that longer term goal right now, but you might believe in the smaller steps that it will take you to get to the larger goal. And that just makes it makes it so much easier. And when you believe that the law of attraction says that if you set yourself a visualization or something that you don't believe, then it won't work. And I don't necessarily think that the law of attraction is just about visualizing something and it happens. I think it's about you going out and taking the steps to make whatever it is that you're visualizing happen. And if you don't believe it, then you're going to lose faith in it.
You're kind of driving momentum, isn't it, as well, to push forward?
Yes. Yeah.
So do you combine a bit of the law of attraction with your goal setting? And can you talk a little bit? I know people have listened to you before. I think actually at the live podcast, we mentioned the law of attraction, and I think you mentioned vision boards as well, maybe?
Probably. I mention it a lot.
Can you so do you combine the two when you are doing your goal setting? Do you kind of think about, you want to do this, but then you really focus in on it? Or could you just explain a little bit more about how the law of attraction works with what we're talking about?
So, I mean, there's a book called The Secret, and if you haven't read it, I think I mentioned that in the live podcast. I would highly recommend it. And I think a lot of people expect it to be quite kind of fluffy, and basically, I think people think that the law of attraction means if you think of £1 million, it's going to land in your lap. Obviously, I do not believe in that. But I do believe if you are positive, it says that positive attracts positive. And if you visualize and manifest, then you will bring whatever it is you are visualizing into your life. So that could be your perfect house. It could be, you know, there are lots of exercises like visualizing your perfect day in your perfect house. And the idea is that eventually you will achieve whatever it is you're visualizing. And I think more than kind of your visualization going out into the universe and creating whatever it is you want and bringing it to you, it's about having that in your mind when you're setting your goals and when you're working literally day to day in a way that pushes you towards whatever it is you want to achieve. So for me, that is how it has worked. So if I have a vision board and it has, I don't know, at the moment I want a horse. So if I have a horse on my vision board, everything I'm doing, I'm thinking, right, well, how much do I need to have a horse? How much money do I need to have a horse? How much money do I need to keep it? So how can what I'm doing work towards that? So for me, that's how it works. And it definitely does work. Because there are things that I've put on vision boards years ago that I haven't even realised are on there, and then I look back and think, oh, I did achieve that. But it's because it's in my subconscious. I'm working towards it all the time without even realising it. So yeah.
There's a phrase that I've completely forgotten what the phrase is, but it's also when you are thinking about something, whether it's in the front of your mind or, as you say, your subconscious, you tend to notice things around it a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I don't know.
Something bias, confirmation bias. There we go.
Not heard of that.
If you think of something, so I think if you think that the odds are stacked in your favor, you're more likely to see things that are in your favor. Whereas if you think that everyone's against you and the world's an awful place, then what you'll see is stuff that supports that theory.
Yeah, there's a saying that says something about if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Because it's about mindset. It's not about, everyone has the same resources, the same hours in the day. And, you know, there's no reason that some people are more capable than others. We all have the same resources at our fingertips. It's just about your mindset.
No, definitely. So it's a really interesting one. And I know I do a lot of reading about kind of mindset, and it is fascinating when you see it in action.
Definitely.
But I think if you are in a kind of a low place, it can be very difficult to believe it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something to be aware of as well, because especially at this time of year, I think people can be in that low place. And then what you said about the resolutions, I know I've made resolutions in the past, and as you say, week one, you're like, screw this, and then you just feel like you feel like you've ruined the year already, and you're a week in and you're a failure and you can't do this and you can't do that. Whereas with the goal, it's more, you say you want to lose weight rather than you're not going to eat. And I think it's quite a different, you can kind of carry on. The weight thing is just me after Christmas. It's always like, oh, well, I'd like to get a bit more toned or be able to do this or do this. And then a week in, something's happening, you haven't been able to do it. And you think, well, this is ruined. But if it's a goal, then you can still work towards that goal, even with a blip.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, that a goal is something you're working towards, whereas a resolution would be, for example, I'm going to go to the gym every day. So then the first day that you don't go to the gym, you have failed in that resolution. Whereas, if you say my goal is to get to this weight, for example, you don't fail until you completely quit. No. So as long as you keep going, it doesn't matter at what pace or how you do it, or it's got to be manageable for you. As long as you carry on going and you don't stop and you don't quit, you've not failed. You just take a little bit longer to get to that goal, and that's okay.
No, completely. And I should say, obviously, not all goals are connected to weight at all, but I just know that so many people in the new year, and I know that I ate my body weight in anything that's going over Christmas, and you get to the 1st of January and you think, I must lose this, and then you just but yeah. So now if we turn this more onto our kind of businesses, and obviously we're going to talk about social media, so you've got a really good challenge to help people get back on track. But I always think that towards the end of the year, I know for me, and I know for you as well, everything just gets manic with work and with life as well. And it is easy to drop the ball on things. It is easy when you've got, if you're a retail business, you've got last orders coming in, you've got a bigger volume of orders because people are ordering for Christmas, you've got people that want things at the last minute, and it's not often with last posting that you can just do it tomorrow. Obviously, again, in retail, there's a massive push on marketing towards the last quarter. So it can be easy to let things slip slightly that aren't seen as essential. And I think, I'd hope this isn't the case. I hope that social media wouldn't be seen as non-essential, because I know that from a marketing point of view, it is crucial. But perhaps the content slips a little, or the frequency slips a little. But I think that especially going forward into the new year, it's really important to use this as a really good excuse to go, well, okay, that was last year. This is stuff I did really, really well. What can I build on?
Yeah, definitely. I personally always feel a massive sense of overwhelm in December, because exactly as you say, there's so much there's so much noise on social media at Christmas, because everybody is trying to get, you want to tell all your audience exactly what products you've got that they can buy, and you feel like you're shouting into a void because so many people are doing the same thing. I've got gift guides on the blog, I've got lots of content creation for different brands, and I've got my own products that I want to push. It just feels manic, and the temptation then is to get to the end of the year and go, oh my god, like that was crazy, and now I'm just gonna leave it for a while and not post. And you've got perhaps the week between Christmas and January, which you can kind of have a bit of a breather, take stock, and then we've got the social media, the Instagram challenge to kind of get you back on track for January. And that is the idea of it. It's, you don't really, because the period after the overwhelm, it's so tempting to just literally drop everything. But that's January, that's the start of your year. And, the whole saying, start as you mean to go on, is so important. So the idea of the challenge, the first time I ever did it was in February, which it was just because I was disorganized and it was kind of a last minute thing. And I put it out and it just did so well that I thought, well, actually we could use this to really help people kickstart their year, feeling like they've kind of got some control and some consistency and quality throughout their social media posts, just to kind of get their message across in a much more curated, less overwhelming way, I guess.
I think as well, January, again, with retail, if you are doing a January sale, obviously you expect a bit of a surge then. But for quite a few retailers who don't do that or have a January sale immediately after Christmas and then it goes off, January can be quite a quiet time. You know, January, February can be quite quiet. So having a focus on your social media in that time can be really, really valuable and actually allow you to get ahead a little bit, have a bit of a plan, and make some really positive steps for the rest of the year. So tell us about this challenge, because when did you first do it? I know you said February, but was it last year or the year before?
Year before, so this will be the third one. And yeah, I think people have a lot more content at their fingertips than they even realize. Especially if you're building a personal brand, but even if you're not, if you're just building a small business, there's so much that you can talk about that kind of incorporates into your brand story. Because I know you talk about this a lot, Ria, like your brand is not just your logo and your color, it's literally everything that your customers come into contact with, from the moment you send your first email to the packaging that you send things out in, to the social media posts they see. And things like your pets at home, your dogs might be part of your brand story, what you've had for lunch, what you like doing in your spare time, all of that, and that's all included in the challenge. And my aim is that by the end of the month people will realize how much content that they've got at their disposal to build their brand story online, really, and that actually creating content for Instagram and for social media doesn't have to be a massive slog. It doesn't have to be a brain ache. It can be really simple and it can be really easy, and you can batch create and you can get yourself organized. And there's a lot more to talk about than people think, and people are a lot more interesting than they think as well. I think people think they're boring, so they don't tell people what they're doing on a Sunday, but we're nosy and we like it. So
I think as well, I was speaking to someone a couple of weeks ago who is lovely and beautiful imagery and stunning Instagram account, but she was getting quite worried that she didn't have enough professional pictures. And I said, well, just take some of your own pictures. As in, the professional ones are beautiful, but actually you can take stuff around the yard, around your life, that actually add to the story and still enhance what you're doing, but just from a slightly different perspective. And I think it can be really, there are a lot of influencers particularly who are having a lot of professional shoots now, which is brilliant. It's lovely to see those images online, but I think it can be a little bit, can't think of the word. I think for people who don't maybe have those resources or don't have those friends who are clever with cameras or don't have the money for so many shoots, they can think, well, actually, I can't do this because I don't have those resources. But actually, I don't know about you. I mean, don't get me wrong, the pictures that you've taken me with the horses do really well. But I think that's because they're quite candid. They're not posed or staged. But actually, a mixture is good, not just from a like and engagement point of view, because there's other things that people relate to. So I seem to spend my whole life walking the blooming dog doing Instagram stories. But because of that, I can take pictures of the changing seasons or wellies and puddles or the dog or things like that, and that's not something I would have a professional shoot to take a picture of my wellies in a puddle, but it allows me to talk about different things, about the importance for me of getting that exercise and getting that fresh air, and do other people feel like that? It allows me to start other conversations that aren't just about, this is what I do, you should buy my stuff.
I mean, jam has become quite a big part of your brand, and that's Ria's dog, for anyone who doesn't know.
Not just actual jam.
I've never photographed her in one of our shoots. In fact, maybe that's our next challenge.
You'd love that. Jam will be all about that. But Marilyn has become a huge thing. I mean, she's quite a big horse. Well, she's short, but she's wide. But she's the reason why I got into this whole thing in one way or another.
I think you're completely right. And I actually did a shoot with somebody the other week for their brand new brand. And we were talking about creating content for the entire year. And she was saying that she might get me back for a shoot in spring, but asking what she should perhaps do in the interim. Because obviously we took quite a few photographs for her throughout the shoot, but it's not going to be enough. If she's posting every single day, perhaps twice or three times a day, that I haven't created enough photos for her in a couple of hours for her to, you know, sustainably post every single day. So you know, she said, oh, do you think it's okay if I set up my own little shots and bring either my camera phone or, I said, I think it's okay. It's not okay to not do that. I think you have to do that. You have to, I mean, and the smartphones are incredible these days. So there's no reason why, and most people have one. I assume that everybody listening to this has a smartphone. There's no reason you can't create your own content. And, you know, a professional shoot might be a good idea perhaps once a year, twice a year, if you can afford that. But in the meantime, you have to be able to look around you, think about what is part of your brand story. It could be your local area, you know, if you're proud of where you come from, anything like that. Animals in this industry are obviously a great one. And you have to be able to kind of create your own stuff so that you've got a bank of images and a bank of content that you can just roll out and continue to build your story.
Absolutely, there's huge scope. And I think that if people are listening to this going, oh, I don't have, you know, I can't do that many professional shoots. And Sophie said, you don't actually need them. I mean, they're lovely to have. And I know I use images from both the first shoot I had with Sophie and the second one all year round in different ways. But I also use a lot of my own pictures. I do obviously quotes and things like that. But the mix to me is what's really important. And the mix is what tells the whole story. And I think that that's what we want to see. If we want to, people buy from people and people connect to people. And if we, you know, if there's a whole drive towards authenticity and really being yourself online, that doesn't mean professional shoots are not something to have done, but that's part of your life. You know, when you do brush your hair, or, you know, you've straightened your hair, or your horses look clean, or those kind of things. But day to day, the more relatable stuff, it's nice to see the blend. I think it's nice to see all the sides.
I read something the other day that said it's something like 80-something% of people don't trust adverts and like brands that advertise and you know, in a really kind of professional, in commas, way, but they do trust people that they feel that they know. And that's the whole point. If you're doing social media well, and you are using you at the forefront of your brand, then people do feel like they know you, and you're so much more likely to connect with your audience. And you know, I was going to say bond. That sounds a bit excessive, but it is.
No,
you know,
it is.
They instantly feel a connection and a likability and a relatability to you that, you know, comes about because you're kind of allowing little bits of your life onto your social media. And I can't create that in a photo shoot. You have to find ways of creating that yourself on a day-to-day basis. Your brand in this day and age can literally follow you around wherever you go, and there's content everywhere. And hopefully this challenge will kind of inspire that and allow people to see that there's a lot more available to them than they think.
So the challenge, people need to, I'm going to put a link in the show notes, but can they get it on your website as well?
Yes. So if you go to my website, on the homepage, there's a little button in the menu that says Learn with Me and then online courses, and you can go there and find it. So
what it is, correct me if I'm wrong, is that for the month of January, there is a prompt each day?
Yes. Yeah.
So give us an example of a prompt.
Oh gosh, put me on the spot.
I'm going to actually look at one now.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You know, I've got the overview here. There's things like share. The first one is introduce yourself. So
okay. So talk to us about that.
Well, I think it's quite a terrifying prospect for a lot of people, and it's the first one. We're going in at the deep end, but it's so important. If you've got new followers or people that perhaps clicked follow years ago and forgot about it, and then you need to introduce yourself to remind people why they follow you, what you do, who you do it for, why people need to care, because quite frankly, you have to persuade them why they should care, because there's, like we said, a lot of noise on social media. So that's the first the first day of the challenge is to post a photograph of yourself and introduce yourself to your followers.
Again,
So,
this can be a selfie. This can be getting your husband, wife, partner, kid to take a picture of you, or it can be a professional shot. So it's not like...
it could be a photograph that you've had taken out riding your horse. If you say you compete in dressage or something, it doesn't have to be like a close-up photo of your face. I would recommend that people can see your face, because I think that does help with the connection to your audience. But, you know, if people are really adverse to posting their face on social media, then, you know, it can just be them doing something that they enjoy doing. But it's the personalization of the brand, I think, that is important with that particular challenge.
And I think as well that that's a really, really good one. And I know, I want to say last year, but it might not have been, I did a Take 5 Things challenge where instead of someone going, hi, well, they probably wouldn't say this because I'm going to say it as my name. Hi, my name is Ria and I live in Worcestershire and I help brands promote themselves better online, because that's just a bit, oh, really? It was 5 like, there was a what do you do for a job, but there was also like, which is your favorite James Bond, and more random things. So I think if people are feeling a bit, oh, I don't want to do like an advert, they can bring random things into it, or things that are maybe unique to them, or that would, or that are special to them.
Yeah, I mean, I did one a little while ago, and I think it said, like, I'm obsessed with Friends. I love Diet Coke and cups of tea. I take my tea with milk and 1 sugar. And the amount of engagement that it got was unbelievable, because people were like, oh, I take my tea the same, and I like Friends. And like I think I actually put on it, what have you got in common with me? Because even if it's just that we love horses, or that we run a business, or from the introduction that I put up a couple of weeks ago, there was something that most people would be able to relate to. And it just really helps when you're kind of trying to get people to care about your brand.
Definitely. So again, I think, you know, if you're looking at the challenge and thinking, oh, I can't do that, oh, I've got to put myself out there. Well, maybe in one way you have, but as Sophie said, it could be a picture of you riding your horse, and you introducing yourself could be that you're absolutely horse mad and this is your horse, and, you know, how you found each other. It doesn't have to be your name is X, you are Y years old, you live in wherever. You know, own it, make it your own. That's the whole point, isn't it? The challenge, you have the prompts, but people can then take it on and really make it their own.
Yeah, and most of the prompts I tried to keep fairly vague, because that's exactly what I want people to do. I want people to interpret them in their own way and tailor them to their own business, because obviously, I mean, last year we had such a massive variety of brands involved that it would be impossible for me to create prompts that were very specific to each of those. So they're quite vague, but in a way that hopefully will inspire the people taking part to tailor them to their own needs.
So the first month, so first 31 days is free. And can people dip in and out of it? If they've got their own content they have to put out at certain times, can they use your prompts along with their own? Or do they have to kind of, I can't think of the phrase, but like commit? Well, that's the end of that.
Yes, they have to commit. Otherwise, I don't know what happens. No, they don't. I mean, it's the first 31 days. So January is a challenge. So the idea, I guess, is that you do all 31 days. But I mean, you're not going to catch fire if you don't.
Good to know.
Yeah, so I mean, I post twice a day, so every day one will be the prompt, and then one will be my own post that I need to, you know, if I need to market something else, or if I just want to talk about my dog because he's cool.
Why not?
Then I will. Yeah, exactly. Everyone loves my dog. So yeah, so you can dip in and out of it. I also have, after the challenge, I have a whole year's worth of social media prompts, which is a paid offering, I guess.
It's like a course though, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's literally, so every day you have at least one random prompt, but it also has key dates from the equestrian industry, and it has like awareness days, so for example National Chocolate Day, things like that. So and then yeah, exactly. Priorities. And then there's a column for you to fill in your own dates as well, so like birthdays, anniversaries, things like that. So there's a possibility of up to 4 prompts for any day of the year. So it's quite a heavy, juicy piece of content. But so that's obviously why it's paid for. It's taken a long time to put together. But it's hopefully very useful if you enjoy the challenge and you enjoy having those prompts there to kind of help you with your social media. And it is a great way to remain consistent, and kind of find ways to build your brand story that you may not otherwise have thought of. That's a good option to kind of take you forward after January.
And how much is that?
It is £30 for an early bird, which is before the 1st of February, and £35 afterwards.
Brilliant. So people can have a quick look at the challenge and then get cracking. And I mean, for £30, that's, I'm going to do hard maths now. I'm not going to do maths. I'm probably going to do maths. Isn't it £2.50 a month?
I do not know.
hang on. Oh, not to
ask me to
do maths. This is not even hard maths. £2.50 a month.
Okay, I mean,
nothing. Yeah, if you get it the early bird, and it's obviously fractionally more than that if you don't. But that's brilliant. Love that. And is there a hashtag that goes with it so we can follow along whether we're involved or whether we are?
The challenge is hashtag My Rural Business Jan20.
Okay, so the whole thing, My Rural Business Jan20.
Yeah, and then after that, I use the My Rural Business hashtag quite a lot anyway. So I thought I would just incorporate that into the challenge. So then after the challenge, if you're using the prompts, you can just use the My Rural Business challenge, My Rural Business hashtag.
Brilliant. So that's good as well, because it's like a little community, isn't it? People can follow along with other people's My Rural Business Jan 20 and see what's going on and keep up with that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I followed people from last year's challenge, just because I felt like I should if they're joining in my challenge, and I've actually loved following them throughout the year as well. So I can't wait to see who else we get joining us for this challenge. And the My Rural Business hashtag on Instagram is a lovely little one to look through, and there's some really lovely businesses on there all year round. So that has become a real lovely community.
Yeah, that is brilliant. So remind us where we can find you in all the places. Remind us your website. Is it on the blog website or your main website where we can get all the main website? Okay, so go for it.
My main website is sophiecallahan.com. And that's where you'll find the course on the Learn With Me part. And then I've got the blog, which is sophiecallahanblog.com. I'm on Instagram at Sophie Callahan, and I'm on Facebook, which is /Sophie Callahan Photos. And I'm on Twitter, and I never go on it, so don't bother.
There you go. Or Twitter. Throughout Twitter got a real ear bash. People going, well, I'm on this, I'm on Twitter. I don't bother with Twitter. Don't look at Twitter. Just stick on the other two.
Like a ghost town over there now.
Poor Twitter. It is. I do go on sometimes. I mean, mainly when Instagram and Facebook are down.
It's lonely on there.
Yeah, I don't. I spend most time on Instagram, to be honest, because I think it's the nicest community.
Definitely.
Not that I don't like Facebook. It's just I feel more. I think the way that the feed works on Instagram, in many ways, because it's a lot more simplistic. I feel like.
Well, I used to be a massive Facebook fan. Like that was kind of where I started my business, and I used to have a much bigger following on Facebook than I did on Instagram. But it's caught up now, and I think Instagram is just the place to be, isn't it? It's got everything. It's got the stories as well, which I think's massively helped.
Love stories. I spend a lot of time looking at people's stories.
So do I. Unhealthy amount of time, I think.
But I do like it because it is real behind the scenes stuff, like we were saying. Actually, it is the kind of, you're trudging across a muddy field. It's not something you put on your grid necessarily, but it is real life, and you're like, oh my god, that's my day as well.
Yeah, definitely. It is. It's so much less curated, isn't it? You just kind of whack up a story. It's like a little online diary, really.
I like that though. I like seeing what people are up to behind the scenes rather than just all the heavily curated stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the first Small and Supercharged podcast of a new decade.
You're very welcome. I feel honoured.
So you should.